My guest is Jeremy Scahill. Blackwater, the rise of the world's most powerful mercenary army. It's the whole story, and as a matter of fact, it's a new edition, revised and updated, available in paperback. Blackwater, that's the name of it. Blackwater, the rise of the world's most powerful mercenary army. Jeremy Scahill, our telephone number is 602-277-KFNX. I don't know if we'll be able to get a call or two on the line, but in the short amount of time that we have left, but a couple of questions still on my mind, and if you have one on your mind, try to get them very, very quickly on our program. Jeremy, one of the other questions is, how are these guys compensated to the as compared to the way an American GI doing effectively the same job would be paid?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of friends who have served in the United States military in Iraq, and I talk with them regularly, and I do as much as I can to support veterans who have been in Iraq, and there are some incredibly heroic young people who are coming back and talking about their experience there, and they view themselves as diehard patriots who feel that they were sent to participate in an illegal war. And one of my friends who's in the 10th Mountain Division, he's still on active duty, facing a redeployment, told me that he was in Ramadi in Anbar province at the height of the fighting, and never stepped foot in an armored vehicle. That they were bolting steel onto the sides of their jeeps and putting sandbags on the ground to try to protect against IED, improvised explosive devices. And he said, we knew that it wouldn't do anything to stop it. It was just we were doing that for psychological reasons. And, my buddy was pulling in $45,000 a year when you add up his at-risk pay for being in the war zone. Some of these guys who work for private companies are making salaries on par with General David Petraeus, who makes $180,000 a year. So you have individual operatives working on government contracts in Iraq who are making nearly as much money as the commanding general in Iraq, while people that are wearing the American flag and have inadequate body armor and inadequate health care and very low pay are in the same war zone with the American flag on their shoulder. And veterans just consider this to be an outrage that these individuals are paid so much more than them, that they're not having any system of law applied to their actions while U.S. soldiers get court-martialed. This is a serious degradation of the United States military in the eyes of many traditional conservatives. This is not a liberal left-wing issue by any means.
All right, let me see if we can get at least one call in. Mike, we're running tight on time. Please go ahead.
Okay, two questions. Was Blackwater used in New Orleans during Katrina, and are they operating anywhere else in the U.S.?
Good questions. Jeremy? Did we lose Jeremy here? Do we have to reconnect with him? Yeah, I'm in the now of it. I'm just in the moment. I don't get upset. I don't get unhappy. Don't regret what happened. Don't look forward to getting them back. I'm just in the now of what we're going to do now on the show. Well, sometimes. We must have the same phone company here at the radio station that I have at home, who can't get their billing right, so help me goodness. Jeremy, caller Mike wanted to know about whether Blackwater has been used here in the United States, specifically Katrina, and where else in the world are they operating?
Yeah, this was one of the incredible parts of this story to me. I was down in New Orleans right after the flooding of the city and the hurricane hitting, and encountered Blackwater operatives on the streets. In fact, I was talking to two New York City police officers who had come down to New Orleans to volunteer, and this car speeds up next to us, and these three massive guys get out of it, and they come up to us, and they say to the police officers, where are the rest of the Blackwater guys? And I had one of those moments where my head sort of goes into a spin, and I didn't even hear what the cops said back to them, and they get in their car, and, M4 assault rifles, Glock 9 strapped to their legs, and they drive away. And I said to the police, Blackwater, you mean like the guys in Iraq? And they said, oh, yeah, they're all over the place down here. And so I found some of the Blackwater guys and talked to them for about an hour, and they told me that they had been sent in there by Eric Prince, the owner of Blackwater, and that they were initially sent in without any kind of a contract. They just showed up, and there were 184 of them and a Puma helicopter, and they told me they were there to confront criminals and stop looters. This was confirmed to me by another Blackwater executive that I interviewed at a conference about a year ago, who said, yeah, we just sent our guys in there. So you're sending in a private paramilitary force with M4 assault rifles onto the streets of an American city in a natural disaster, and saying you're there to confront criminals and stop
Good Lord!
looters.
And the authorities were were taking the weapons of homeowners who had no more interest in sitting on their front porch and making sure that their family was safe, while this paramilitary force helicopters into the town by like a couple hundred of them, and they're free to roam around heavily armed and do what they will.
Well,
it's insane.
One guy. I mean, I'm not a big gun guy, but there was a lot of rage from ordinary folks in New Orleans, who, New Orleans has very lax gun laws, and people sort of view it as I have my gun, I'm going to protect my home, and and that's sort of how they view it. And meanwhile, their guns are being confiscated, and the Blackwater guys roll in with M4 assault rifles, engaging in a paramilitary style operation. I mean, but more to the point, these guys ended up getting hired by the Bush administration, and the Blackwater guys on the ground were getting paid $350 a day plus a per diem. And Eric Prince and Blackwater billed us, taxpayers, $950 per man per day. They made $70 million off of Hurricane Katrina just from their federal government contracts, not to mention the other work that they did for private companies, etc. But this was classic disaster profiteering. These guys roll into town. They get hired by the Department of Homeland Security. And why? Why were they hired by the Department of Homeland Security? Well, because the Louisiana National Guard was somehow protecting the people of Louisiana by being deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, unbelievable. Mike also wanted to know where else Blackwater is operating. Where else in the world are they?
Well, they're in 9 countries around the world, and their primary area of focus right now is the region in the Middle East. They're in Iraq. They're in Jordan. They're also in Afghanistan. They've been in Azerbaijan, which is right near the Iranian border, in a port city called Baku that juts out into the Caspian Sea. They were sent in there by Donald Rumsfeld to set up a special forces base. It's what Blackwater calls the small footprint approach. You don't send in the U.S. military to the border with Iran. You send in Blackwater. And Blackwater also is trying to set up a facility in California right now. They got beat on a proposal to open an 820-acre private military base there. They got defeated by a town of 850 people, but they're still fighting to open shop. But their next stop, Charles, could well be Latin America. Blackwater is bidding on part of a $15 billion contract with the Pentagon to fight the so-called war on drugs, which in many ways is a counterinsurgency war. And so that could be Blackwater's biggest contract ever, and we should be getting word on that any time. But these guys, their future is secure regardless of who's in the White House. I mean, business has never been better for them, despite the fact that they are alleged to be responsible for terrible violence in Iraq. Their contract in Iraq was just extended for another year. They continue to win huge business with the government, basically on a weekly basis. They got $140 million in contracts just in the 2 weeks following the Nicer Square shooting. So that gives you a sense of how the Bush administration views accountability and what it does to reward businesses whose operatives kill Iraqi civilians.
They have every incentive in the world to get us involved in skirmishes and wars, to drag us in, to shoot them up in South America now, so that we're there, a bigger, better presence. Great.
And what's particularly disturbing to me about this is that the war on drugs has pretty widespread bipartisan support. And, there's a very serious discussion to be had about narco-trafficking and narco-terrorism, but that's not what's happening in Latin America right now. These forces are being used to suppress dissent, and as a counterinsurgency force in Colombia, Bolivia, Ecuador, elsewhere. One of Blackwater's competitors, DynCorp, which is sort of the Walmart of private security companies, has long been in Colombia and gets about 94% of the war on drugs business. So Blackwater's trying to get into that market right now, and certainly wants to expand its presence in the United States. They have an operating facility in Illinois. They built another one in Idaho. As I said, they're trying to build this one in California. They have had a continued presence in the Gulf, and then they have this massive 7,000-acre private military base in North Carolina. This is a company that really is a metaphor for so much of what's happening in this country and what has happened over the past 8 years.
Well, no wonder you won a Polk Award. And by the way, it was a Polk Award, just to make that clear for people on Fox that are confused about polks and other awards.
That's pretty funny.
That's a pretty funny story. Jeremy, you are a great guest. It's an important book. I hope everybody reads it, and I hope you'll come back on the show before long.
No, it'd be my pleasure, Charles. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Scahill, and the book is Blackwater, new paperback edition, revised, updated. It's already an international bestseller, but good Lord, the horrors that are detailed in this book. Jeremy Scahill and Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army. For Anti-War Radio on antiwar.com, I'm Charles Goyette. I'm Charles Goyette for antiwar.com.